You know, for more than a year, we've watched some of our nation's most prestigious institutions be overrun with people who turn their right to a peaceful protest into violent and destructive demonstrations. And last night, the library at Columbia University in New York City became the latest target. Take a look. 80 people were arrested after refusing to leave the library during this pro-Palestinian protest. And when you look at this, you think, wow, that's a pretty peaceful demonstration. But don't let this footage fool you, because look at this. This is the aftermath. Look at the damage and the vandalism left behind once those crowds were cleared. Next week, thousands of students at Columbia will be taking their final exams. And now that library, well, you may not be able to study inside that library. And how would you like that if your son or daughter was a student at Columbia University, or maybe your grandkids? Joining us now is Kaz Daughtry. He's the deputy mayor for public safety there in New York City. Kaz, great to see you again. Those photos, to me, that's clearly vandalism. And that's a crime. It's not free speech. What did your officers walk into last night?
Those photos are extremely disturbing, Chris. You know, here at the Adams administration, our mayor, Honorable Mayor Eric Adams, and he's made it very clear while I was in the police department as a deputy commissioner, when I came over as the deputy mayor for public safety, that this administration, the Adams administration, is going to protect the fundamental right of New Yorkers, tourists, anybody coming into New York City to peacefully protest. However, when those protests go sideways, like which we saw and the world watched yesterday, when these individuals pushed past the CUNY security team to go into the library and to vandalize the library with those hateful words that we see there, they destroyed this library. You know, we got finals coming up next week. When I say we, the students got finals coming up next week. They should be in there studying for their finals. Mm-hmm. However, they're in there destroying the libraries.
What do you know about the people who were arrested, the people behind it? Were they students, or were they outside agitators trying to blend in with those students?
I'm hearing that the majority of the individuals that was arrested, I think there was a total of 79 arrests, one got a summons. I'm hearing majority of them were students, and a couple were not affiliated with the school. So you have to ask yourself, how did they get into the school? Everybody has to use the scan in, scan out method to go into the school. How did they bypass security, these outside agitators? I'm sure that the Columbia University is doing an investigation in regards to that. But once again, you know, they're in there. You know, thank you to Governor Hochul with the new with the mask rules, because these individuals that were arrested yesterday are charged with a crime. And then, you know, we're hoping when the budget is passed that we can add an additional charge for having a mask when you are committing a misdemeanor or a felony.
Mm-hmm. Are they still in jail tonight? Do you know?
No, they all received summonses. They're for trespass summonses. Some probably got summonses for obstructing governmental administration. And I would probably say majority of them are back out. We have another protest going on one of another colleges as we speak right now, where they're trying to set up an encampment on the actual college ground itself. So I think it's I got to get the name of the institution. I don't want to say the wrong name, but this is what we're starting to see again. We saw this a lot last year, and now we're starting to see this pick up again right around finals time. It seems like this is happening. You know, this administration is not going to tolerate, anti-Semitism. They're not going to tolerate, these agitators and protesters. Students can't walk to class. Can you imagine, Chris, that you got some students that want to go to use that facility, to use that library, to go study for their tests, and they have to be met by this? It's not fair to the hardworking students that want to go there to Columbia to take their to get their degree, earn a degree, pass their finals, and they can't even go there. They can't even study in their own library because this is happening. We can't tolerate this.
I'd be outraged.
That's not peaceful. What you're looking right there, that is not peaceful. That was before the police showed up, and that they're pushing past CUNY security peace officers. We can't have that. They're assaulting them.
Let's listen now to how the Columbia University is responding to that library takeover. Listen to this.
I'm deeply disturbed at the idea that at a moment when our international community feels particularly vulnerable, a small group of students would choose to make our institution a target. We had no choice but to ask for the assistance of the NYPD, and I'm grateful for their help and professionalism, as well as that of our public safety team.
Did you hear that? The university president is speaking specifically about the men and women of the NYPD. What's the biggest safety concern you have when it comes to these type of encampments and these college protests?
The biggest safety concern, and I'm sure that the acting Columbia University president probably feels the same way. You have these individuals, and they all have masks on, and we don't want the students. So we don't want New Yorkers to feel victimized by the hateful rhetoric that they're spewing. We don't want when groups get into this type of like mob mentality. We don't want the assaults. We don't want students to get assaulted. We don't want officers to get assaulted. And the president, the acting president from Columbia, came out with a really strong message. We didn't see that last year,
right,
Kris. This year it seems like that she's that she's not going to tolerate this, and we're going to work together with the New York City and the NYPD, as well as their peace officers, the CUNY officers on the campus, to make sure that we keep everyone at that educational institution safe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a different tone, and think about the tone we heard from the White House, right, when it came to how these things should be handled. How do you think Columbia University should discipline these students? Should they be expelled? Should they be denied from taking their exams? What's your take, Kaz?
I'm gonna leave that to the Columbia professionals and the educators there. My take is really not important. I just hope they make the right decision, and I'm sure that they know what that decision is. That we can't have this. This sets a precedent for the rest of the globe to do this, and we can't have this type of activity where we're assaulting and vandalizing and desecrating school grounds like this. It's just not right to all the other students that just want to go there, get their do their school assignments, get the degree, pass their tests, and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's why some say, hey, send a real strong, clear message. Let them know that this semester was all for naught, if that's how you want to act on our campus. Look, while we have you here, Kaz, I do want to dig into something that your department is committed to, which is dismantling a gang made up of kids. All right, we're showing some video here now of some crimes that were caught on camera. These are kids as young as 12 who have multiple arrests already on their record. I mean, it's unbelievable to say that. This gang is called Los Diablos de 42, or the Devils of 42nd Street, which is basically a kid's version of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. They're accused of some serious crimes, as you know, Kaz, even attempted murder. How do you even go about locating suspects this young?
You know what? The NYPD has the best detectives in the world. Chief Kenny, him and his team do a phenomenal job. Just imagine you're showing some of these videos. Some of them had a mask on, and you have to go. Just imagine the amount of work that goes into what the investigators got to do to get the individuals wearing the mask before. So, like I said before, the NYPD has a tremendous amount of resources. They got the best investigators in the world. This group is a subset of Tren de Agua. They're the younger version of Tren de Agua. And what you're seeing what this group is doing after some of these kids, these juveniles, as you mentioned, have been arrested multiple times, 10 or more. And the youngest is 12, the oldest being 19. And we cannot have, Kris, in this city, and the mayor has made it very clear, we're not going to have gang members terrorize our city.
Right.
We will find you. We will eradicate you. We will arrest you. What they did last year, citywide pattern number 101, 23 hits, Kris, 23 victims of what you're watching, wolf pack style robberies, where they all circle around the victim,
mm-hmm.
and they take their property and with force and sometimes use force. Sometimes they have weapons. Sometimes they have guns. And we cannot have that. We locked these individuals up. We locked them all up last year for these patterns. And they're still out. They're still out, and they attacked 2 of our police officers that were interrupting a robbery. And guess what? They got arrested for that. The NYPD did a great job in that. You want to know where those individuals are at right now, Kris?
They're on the street.
Yesterday, as I was driving home, I saw some of them sitting on 42nd Street, same place where we got them at before.
That's got to make your blood boil, because you've told us that in the past, that you'll find these juveniles, oftentimes because of the lax juvenile detention laws, they're just released. What needs to be done? How can you tell whoever's in charge, they're like, hey, there need to be severe punishments here. You know, we're waving a flag here because we need help regardless of your age.
How do you think the officers that were attacked a couple of days ago feel that they got to walk by those same individuals that attacked them? Was that last Friday night? That is on their post. Think about that for 1 second.
That's a good point.
How do you think the victims, the 23 victims that we only identified, there's probably more that were robbed and attacked by these individuals, and that they hear that they're back out on the street again? I know they're young as 12, and I think the oldest is maybe 19 or 20, but there has to be some sort of consequences for these individuals. And I understand that, people are saying that they're juveniles, Kris, but how many robberies are we going to give them a pass for before we start holding them accountable?
Yeah. Look,
how many more victims do we need to be victimized before we start really laying the law down for these individuals? The police department is just one step in this, one player in this game of public safety. You have judges, you have lawmakers, you have district attorneys. What are we going to do? How do you rehabilitate somebody that's been arrested for the same exact incident, committing the same exact crimes 23 times, and been arrested probably for the same exact crimes that I know 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and some of them haven't even hit 18 yet. What do we do, Kris? Something has to be done.
Something needs to be done. And that's why you, sir, right now you're at a local school, right? And I see the trophies there behind you because you're in the principal's office and you're spreading a message of hope. And my hope is that's where it starts, Kaz. That these kids will hear you, they'll listen to you, and they'll take it home and they'll act on it, because that's all we can hope for, right?
I am sitting in the principal's office. I'm not in trouble. I'm sitting in the principal's office at the Eagle Academy in Brooklyn, where we're holding a public safety job fair, where we have all of our public safety agencies and the Adams administrations here at this school. And we have young kids, 18, 17, talking to public safety officials from the NYPD, FDNY, OEM, sanitation police, DCAS police, hospital police, and we're trying to get them to register for some of these public safety jobs, because the Adams administration is looking to pick up more individuals in the public safety field, and so they can be part of this team and keep in New York City the safest big city in America.
Deputy Mayor Kaz Daughtry, always great to see you. Thank you, sir, for taking the time and walking us through this. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you again.